Who we thanking today?
All right, we're live.
It was. I think I saw it this morning. It was Lucy Picker.
Yeah. Pussy
related to what is it? Futt Bucker.
Related, yeah.
It's like a whole crew. It was a new
we
page,
also-
and I think it was just to see the trades.
We actually got two new Patreon members, Lucy Picker and Ranjaraj, if I'm saying that right.
Wow.
Your comments.
We got 2 new Patreon members. That's amazing. Shout out to 81 people being here in 20 seconds. Oh my, that's amazing. Thank you all for being here. And
so, Futtbucker, why have you not subscribed to our Patreon? That's what I like to know.
You guys haven't given him any real value, to be honest. So I doubt.
I think we've given enough value at this point. Honestly, the number of times I said end phase, I've given value.
Okay, so do you all three know the name of the video, the name of the title for this podcast?
Yeah.
What is
The
it?
little podcast got a huge sponsor.
You guys know the sponsor?
Just tell us, man.
No, I'm just asking a question. Like, do you guys know the sponsor?
No, we asked you on
That's
WhatsApp.
probably, you're probably gonna be. It's probably gonna be Audia because you got to promote the brand.
It's not.
Yo, it's Tom Nash. He's a sponsor.
No, I promise it's not. It's not Tom Nash. It's not FTX. It's not Amit. It's not Audia, but it's a pretty cool sponsor. I got the email from them last night, and I accepted the sponsorship.
First of all, I don't. How can you accept the sponsorship when we're not a part of the discussion?
Yeah,
we have not.
I mean,
what do we
look at the end of the day? I think I know business better than all of you guys. So.
Oh my
God.
Okay, take it easy now.
Could it be rat poison? Or are we promoting rat poison now?
No,
come on.
Bro, on some real shit. Okay, I didn't want to text you guys on the WhatsApp because I knew you guys would have all this shit to say. But like, not only the number that they offered, the deal they offered to grow with us as we grow the podcast. I was just like,
okay, I'm kind of excited.
Like, obviously, we can back out of it, so I'm like introducing it live on the pod. But I accepted it. I'm waiting to sign the contract.
You cannot accept things on behalf of us, by the way.
Wait, why not?
Because you're not in charge of all of us.
You're signing us up for that. That's not how. If you know business, that's
you
not
don't
how
accept
business works.
sponsorship on our
All
behalf.
right. I want to hear this out before I start criticizing the deal. Go ahead, Amit. Come on. Let's not.
This is why you don't go into business with. I'm not gonna say it.
Whoa.
Wait, what were
I know
you
exactly. I could finish that sentence.
I'm not gonna say it, but I think it's
Whoa.
implied. Nope.
Look,
continue.
Look, at the end of the day, I think that I know I'm not the most profitable investor here. I get it. Like, you guys have made more money than me, but I think I understand social media a little bit. And as a result of that, I made the decision, and I think we're going to go with the sponsor. And
Carp is sponsoring us.
It makes a lot of sense at the end of the day.
Alex Carp, Palantir. Are we forever now the Palantir crew?
No, it's not. It's not.
All right. Let's see.
Crew.
All right, Amit. Let us.
Okay. Hold on. Let me
pull up a website or something. Pull up some
honestly,
website.
I know.
Like, brought to you by
Paul McCartney of the group. Exactly.
Dude, if it's enough for me to quit my job, I'll promote rat poison. I'll do it. I don't care.
No. KX has it right. It's like sponsored by OnlyFans.
Okay, how much do you think the sponsor? Before I show it, I just want to build up a little suspense to get some people in here. How much do you think the sponsor is? How much do you think I would sell us out for? That's
$10K.
$500.
$10K.
$10K.
It better be $10K because there's 4 of us.
Yeah, split it 4 ways.
If it's $400, I kill you. Okay.
Oh, it's not $400. Okay, so let's put in the guesses. Chris, what do you think it is?
I'd say.
By the way, guys, I know I'm building hype, but I'm dead serious. I accepted it.
All right, how about 4,000? How about $4,000? 1,000.
So we doing like whoever's the closest without going over, like Price is Right style.
Okay, let's do that. So you say it's 4,000, so 1,000
a month, right? 4,000.
Yeah, it's a monthly sponsorship. It's a monthly sponsorship.
I would say
monthly. Then
I would just say minimum 5.
Minimum 5K
a month. I don't know if it's monthly changes everything. Monthly, I'm going to say 1,500. I'm going down
1,500 a month.
Yeah,
for 4 of us.
That's not enough. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but you made the deal. They made a deal with you, not with us right now.
No, they said the Finance Junkies podcast. They just thought I was the one negotiating because obviously they thought I had the most business sense out of everybody. So that's why.
Okay. All right. I'll like I said, I'll hear it out. Go ahead. What
All right, I'm sticking with mine 1,500.
You say it's 1,500. Okay.
A month, yeah.
Vitaly, what is your final offer? 4,000?
I mean, it better be around.
Vitaly said 5K. I'm saying 1,500.
At least 4K.
What are you at, Chris?
Vitali's up. Vitali's got a pool to pay for, so he's up there, bro.
Yeah, you know how much it is to heat that pool?
He wants to fill it with money.
Someone said they're going to cancel the app. No, I explicitly asked them because I wanted to kind of do this bit in front of the podcast. So I said, "Yo, can I like I got on the phone with the guy last night, bro.
That's
good.
Like
3
That's good.
They're a company based out of Toronto. They're actually really cool. All right, so
the weed company.
It's not the weed company. Okay, so you think it's 4,000? So basically, all of you think it's between 4 and 5K.
I think Ty is right. Send me later to negotiate. But go ahead. Let's hear this.
Okay, here we go. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
It is time. Here we go. Let me share my screen. I'm going to share the email.
You going to ring the bell at the same time?
No, I'm not going to ring the bell.
Why'd you remind him about the fucking bell?
How do I get the share my?
How do we lose the sponsor? We smoke up on the podcast.
Grinder.
Okay, you guys ready?
Here
we go. I'm going to show you the email.
All right.
Hey, Amit, we're an e-com brand based in Toronto. We came across your Finance Junkies podcast over the past couple of days and honestly think it's perfect for our brand. The chemistry you, Chris, and Vitaly and Carlos have is really unique, and it's hard to find a podcast like this. We know your viewership is averaging 200 people, and it may be relatively small, but we want to sponsor the podcast for $25,000 a month as long as we can be the exclusive sponsor as the podcast grows.
All right, Mitt. That was a good deal. If we get
that was a good deal. That was a good one.
25K, bro. 25K.
You made a good deal.
That's a good deal.
Okay, how did wait? How did you
email?
How did you vet
and
that?
Okay, so the e-com company is called. It's really cool. We think you'll enjoy it. It's called ringthecowbell.com.
Told you that bell was coming.
I knew it. I knew it was going to be a bad joke. Yeah, man. That was horrible, dude.
To the Finance Junkies, everybody.
You're an asshole,
think I would
dude.
sell out for 25K?
I would sell out for 25K a month. What are you talking about?
Man, you got me all fucking hyped up too. I was like, oh yeah, this is good.
I was ready to retire.
You should have waited until April, right? You could have called it April Fools. Now you just made us.
No, because April 1st is a Saturday, and we don't do a show on Saturdays, so that's
okay.
All right. Well,
would you guys actually sell it for 25K? That would be worth it for you, 25K a month?
Well, first of all, 25K for a month for, let's say, a year while it grows, and then we get rid of those people and get the next one.
And then we renegotiate. Then you renegotiate. That's it.
Okay. I think I did a good job getting you guys to believe me, though. You guys were like, believed me.
I was actually ready to kill you because anyone who makes a deal on my behalf is going to die.
Okay, hold on. But here's let's say they were like, we need your answer now, and I didn't consult with you guys, but it was
no. You have to consult. It doesn't matter.
But let's say I had a time limit and it was 25K. Would I?
But they wouldn't accept it. They wouldn't accept it. And we're on WhatsApp all the time. It's so easy to get.
First of all, they would need everybody's consent. At the end of the day, these brands aren't stupid. They would say we want all 4 guys to sign on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, 200 people, for being here. We don't think you're a relatively small audience, even if that stupid company thinks you guys are. We appreciate you. Thank you for being here. We got a lot to talk about.
Honestly, I keep saying 200 live is too small.
Bro, you're gonna drink the Limca? Bring out the Limca, bro.
Ignore Vitaly. He doesn't. 200 people is amazing. Thank you all for being here. Limca. This is Indian crack, basically. This is what it is. Chris knows what it is, right?
What is it? What does it taste like?
It's like Sprite and lemonade. Okay. Like on 10. It's like really good. And I never usually drink, but
like a Monster drink with Sprite type of thing.
It's not an energy drink, it's soda, but it's 132 calories, right? It's nothing crazy. So
okay.
That's it. All right, let's start the pod. First topic of the day. Michael Burry said it's time he was wrong to say sell. What are your raw thoughts on that? Chris, let's go with you.
I mean, the guy's flip-flop so much. I wouldn't trust anything that he says. Sometimes he'll come up with like a pearl of wisdom, but most part, he's not someone that I would necessarily like put all my eggs on when it comes to investing. I do, however, think that he does, if you follow his 13 Fs, it does give you an indication as to what he thinks is coming. So I'd follow that. I think and if I was to try to read into this, I would think that he is trying to tell us that, he did not expect the Fed to be as flip-floppy as a lot of people are thinking. So right now we're in this zone of, are we actually doing QE or are we still doing QT? And he's leaning in the camp is we're probably doing QE. And the way that they're doing it is by supporting all the banks and basically putting a floor under the price of all these regional banks. He thought that the regional banks would probably collapse and the Fed would just let it happen. And the Fed blinked, of course, and just basically stopped it. So that's where he says I was wrong to sell. So maybe that's his reasoning for it. Either that, and also QQQ has rallied like crazy. I think.
But do you think he's trolling at all? Like, he never said sell stocks. He just said I was wrong to say sell. Do you think there's any?
I don't know, man. The guys like him, they're literally like the oracles, right? Oracles, what they'll do is they'll put out a very, very general statement that can fit either scenario, and then when it happens, it's like, see, I told you. It's like, no, you didn't. Like, there's a couple of people that we follow on Twitter on it who like put like, oh, blah blah blah, you should have done this, you should have done that. But that's like after the fact. It's like, okay, you never just said plainly like, hey, look at this company or look at this sector. It's always been like, hey, I'm seeing interesting opportunities. And then they would just cut it off at that and they wouldn't say anything more than that,
Yeah.
So
don't you think he's a bit of a victim of his own success? Like, he made a right call and now there's this need to like just make an even more grandiose call and be right.
Well, the thing is, he is right a lot. I know we're dissing on him, and I actually don't follow him at all, because by the time you read the 13F, as you said, it's over. Okay, whatever he's done is over. So he could have gone in. He's a trader. He's not an investor. So when he makes his calls are very short term, I believe. And even he believes the market's going to turn around and go up, but he just knows in the short term there's a lot of problems. But it wasn't just the 2008 crash that he called. He's called a lot of things correctly. But the problem is he's called the things 30 times and got 3 of them right. That's the problem. But he got 3 big things right. So I mean,
and he's also been very, very early in his moves. So the thing is, being early to the party can have negative consequences too. Like, some people will sit on capital for a very long time. Palantir, while they're missing out on all these gains.
Wow, 3 against 1. That's amazing.
A great drinking game for us would be every time we talk Palantir, Enphase, or every time Vitaly says DCA inequality companies.
Boom! All right, let's get the beer out.
You will not make it 20 minutes.
we absolutely will not. Did you guys watch The Big Short when it came out in 2010? Yeah. It came out 2010. Yes.
I don't remember when it came out, but but I watched it.
You watched it right when it came out, or did you wait years before you watched
right when it came out? Yeah.
Why were you excited to watch? So you knew enough about the stock market where you could watch a stock market movie at that time.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good movie. It was also a good movie. And what's his name? That was Christian Bale, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's also fantastic when he gets in a role, and he really owned that role. So yeah, it was.
And Brad Pitt too.
Movie. Yeah, isn't that? It was a good movie.
So I watched that movie last year. Okay, it's the first time I watched that movie, and I thought it was phenomenal because I didn't realize that Burry's LPs, his limited partners, his investors, they were upset at what he was doing, even though he was right. Like the fund made like $745 million on the trade, and investors exited. They withdrew $700 million of funds the next year because they hated his style, even though he made them.
Did they withdraw it? I thought he gave them back their money and kicked them out.
He said in a 60 Minutes interview with CBS, let's see if I can pull up the clip. Investors took out the money. Like, they didn't let him reinvest it.
Well, so that's the thing with wealthy people, right? Remember, all the people that he was working with these are people that have generational wealth. The one thing people with generational wealth do not like is to take exorbitant risks with their money. They want, if you look at like Bernie Madoff, the reason why Bernie Madoff was such a success in getting people to invest with him wasn't that he was promising these crazy returns. It was like, I will give you a fixed return no matter what happens to the market, and I'll be consistent with it over a long period of time. Now, on the other hand, if he said, yeah, give me your money, I'll put it into a risky bet, and I could quadruple your money 1 year, and maybe another year it'll be down 20-40%. Obviously, rich people, they're not going to say, yeah, go ahead, risk my money. They are all about keeping. So once you get to a certain wealth level, it's no longer about making more money. It's about preserving what you have without having to lose it all.
The guy made you so much money. Why wouldn't you trust him?
No, you don't get it. They're millionaires. All they want is 10%. Okay. Yeah. And this guy for 2 years, for 2 or 3 years, they were getting hammered, bleeding. Imagine the mental anguish.
The price for everything stays the same, whether you're a millionaire. So like all the day-to-day expenses, all of like the normal bills, it's not hard for them.
And also,
if they can make 2 to 5%, they're fine.
He had to freeze withdrawals. At one point, he stopped letting people get out. So when you unhook that dam, people are going to get out. You know what I mean? So like right now, imagine you have $10 million with this fund, and because the withdrawals would sink your entire fund, he puts a block on it saying you can't withdraw your money. Go ahead, sue me if you want, right? we remember that part of the movie where literally people were trying to sue him, and the guys, the lawyers came in to try to get him out of the position. But because he had ultimate control over the fund, he was able to keep their money in there. Once the short bet worked out, these people were like, I can't trust my money with a guy who's going to freeze my assets and not let me take it out without a lawsuit. That was the other problem too. So when you become that wealthy, you want to have control over your money. Like right now, let's say I gave you money and you tell me like, sorry, Chris, I put the money in a bet and we're probably going to be fine. But in the short term, you can't get your money out. Every day I'm going to be worrying about that money, So it's sound and reasonable logic from the investor standpoint, where they want a good amount of return, but they don't want to risk it on someone who's going to make a decision like that. And then they have to bear the consequences of it.
Yeah.
It also is age. Like whether it's wealth, it's a certain level of wealth and age. You just get less, that idea that you get more conservative as you get older. It's true.
So here's a weird thing. Believe it or not, I saw 2008 going to happen, and I called it in 2006 when I was still in college.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah,
what do you mean by you called it?
I'll tell you the story behind it. At the time, my dad and me, we were looking to buy a house.
The Oracle
right?
of Bangladesh. You haven't heard?
No, no. It was something that I saw.
You should have started on social media in 2006 if you called it.
Well, I was in college. No, what happened was we were doing well financially that year, and my dad and me, we were looking, for houses, right? Because we never had a home before, so we were looking for homes. And every time we looked for a home, things would get like sold really quickly. And one of our neighbors, who was a janitor, made way less money than we did. He ended up buying a house that was like super expensive, right? And that's when me and my dad are like, how are some of these people affording these houses? They make no sense. Like, this guy is I mean, not to say, janitors make like poor money, because they do exceptionally well sometimes, but we knew the financial conditions of this person and it wasn't there. And then when we started to look around, it was like, wow, I can't believe so many people are buying houses. And that's when me and my dad said, look, there's something going on in the market that maybe we just need to wait it out. We didn't know about like MBS products and, all the subprime and all that stuff. That was way beyond our general understanding, but we knew that something was wrong in the market. So we didn't buy a house at the time. We just left it alone. So
can I give you the opposite story?
Yeah.
I didn't know anything was wrong, and I bought 2 houses during exactly that time. Not enough, but I bought one during the peak, which was my house. It cost me $380,000. This was in Jersey City. That was the peak, and then it went down to probably $340 during the crash. It didn't go down much in the Heights, where this was in Jersey City. And the other one I bought, I waited for the crash, and I bought it 60, 70,000 less. It fell from 360, 370 to 300. Do you want to know what those houses are worth right now?
Probably double.
More than double. So my point is, you can buy at the peak, buy at the bottom, and real estate still went up. And that's still going to happen the same way again, because they're not making any more of it.
No, that's absolutely true. I totally agree with you. The only thing is, when it comes to buying a home as a financial decision for most people, they're not buying it in terms of being and investing in it, right? And also, and this is the example that I used with my father-in-law just like about a couple of hours ago, we were talking about it. And when you're buying a house, you're expecting everything to go right all the time. So you're willing to overpay, right? So you're like, okay, I'm going to have, like, we have a 2-income household. Both of us are going to keep our jobs. Everything is going to be great. And then you buy this house and then one of you gets laid off. It's an extended period of layoff time where you can't get a job, whatever. Then your whole like economic situation collapses. You, Vitaly, you're in a different level of income and wealth right now, where even if, let's say, something were to happen to you,
now. Back then I wasn't. I wasn't.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, some people can bear that risk and tolerate it. Other people will destroy their marriage. So for me, whenever I'm looking at homes or anything to buy or invest in or whatever, the first thing I say, like, look, if one of us loses our job or can't afford it, could we keep it? Could we survive off of it? So I think that's the equation. And in 2006, that equation was thrown out the door completely, where everyone was just buying houses, right? Even if it was way beyond their means, if something were to happen, where people lose their jobs. Ultimately, the reason why the market for homes crashed is because the economy crashed. If people lose their jobs, they lose their ability to pay their mortgage. And if people lose their ability to pay the mortgage, that means that widespread unemployment will cause housing prices to collapse. So right now, when you look at the Fed, yeah, exactly. In Long Island, New Hyde Park, Fuddbucker, that's where we were looking, actually.
Damn.
New Hyde Park.
I'm just, you don't have to say Fuddbucker anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
We've got a sponsor now.
I like saying Fuddbucker. I like saying.
Okay, so if Burry is right,
Yeah.
saying he was wrong to say sell, is it because he believes that there isn't some catastrophic crash coming that he's been screaming about since 2020? Like that catastrophic crash happened when the S&P got to 340, and now, we're not seeing that again.
I just don't think he took into account if the Fed was going to be as supportive as they are. Like I thought he would. He was going to say inflation is the primary target, so the Fed is probably going to blink. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. The Fed said inflation is a problem, but we're not going to let these regional banking crises happen and then take down the entire economy.
Because when Silicon Valley collapsed, he said, this is our next Enron, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he thought it was like a real big collapse was starting, and the Fed just did not let that happen.
That doesn't mean the Fed is, by the way, any means it's right. If we start to see inflation start climbing again, that's bad. Right now, we're on the cusp of is inflation going to go down or is it going to go up? If inflation starts to reaccelerate because people just start spending all their money again, that's a big problem. And there's about $5 trillion in money market accounts right now, which is just capital on the sidelines waiting. So this could go either way still.
Okay. We have another topic that's very important to discuss. It'll be important to see Vitaly and Carlos's raw take on it since they are Tesla investors. Nikola has announced a $100 million stock offering. You know why I don't like Nikola? It's because I bought 5 shares of these guys when I was sitting on the toilet at $73. I remember where I was. It was 2020. I was bored. I was like, oh, Nikola. It's like electric car. Cool.
Nikola.
And I lost my money.
Nikola. Dude, you pronounce things really weird sometimes on it. It's Nikola.
What's something else I pronounce as weird?
You call it Babylon. I was like, it's Babylon.
Have you ever heard of Nikola Tesla?
Yeah.
That's where it came from. I mean, it's come on.
Okay, well, here's the question: does Nikola have the ability to survive as a company off this 100 million stock offering that they're doing?
Of course not. They're just buying their time, just like Palantir.
Okay.
No, Palantir will never go out of business. Palantir will never, ever go out of business. They'll never make any money for investors, but they'll never go out of business.
Anyway, back to Nikola.
By the way, did you guys see those comments on the clip that I did for our debate? There were a lot of comments that were very intellectual,
very mean comments. Very mean comments.
They were mean, but they weren't just like fuck these guys. They were like, these guys really don't understand this, and here's why. And people have paragraphs of comments. I would read those,
and that's why I didn't read them because they're too long.
Okay. Anyway, Nikola, why are they doing this $100 million offering? What's the goal? Do you think
they want to continue to bankroll the company, and then they'll use that to lure some other retail investors in with some 3D generated truck or some announcement, and then they're all going to bail.
So
no. I think the company's trying to succeed. Actually, like the interviews with Sandy Monroe,
the trucks, but I mean,
like. How are they going to... Okay, the problem with Nikola... I'm going to keep... The problem with Nikola is that...
That's a good one day. Yeah, they're going to make money in the metaverse, in Vitaly's metaverse, that no one's going to be in.
We'll all be driving Nikola there. They could possibly make money there. They're going to sell their trucks virtually. But no, the problem is, look, when you're a startup, and it was hard enough for Elon to make an electrified car, to build some sort of infrastructure for that, even though there is a lot of electricity, there's already infrastructure for just plugging your car at home, right? That's there. But where the hell are they going to get the hydrogen? Like, where are these plants? You have to make the hydrogen, okay? Or you cart it in big tankers, or you make it on site with electricity.
They could make it. Like, you could technically extract the hydrogen from water.
No, that's not how they do it. They make it, you're right, but they make it with electricity. Yes, that's what they do, with electricity.
Yeah. The problem with, though, the amount of energy
so they burn coal to make
they do that too.
Yeah,
the amount of energy that's required for electrolysis, where you can actually just run a current through it's a huge. So it makes no economic sense. And then on top of it, hydrogen is like super combustible. Like, look at what happened to Hindenburg. You really think people want to be running around like the country with giant tanks that could blow up at any time?
I don't think that's the issue, honestly. I think they control that sort of. I mean, gas is combustible, so cars catch fire.
But actually, gas is not as combustible. Like, it's like you could light a match and it would go out on. It's like it takes.
No, gasoline, yes. Hydrogen, no.
Hydrogen is highly explosive.
But I'm
Yeah.
saying I don't know if that's the real worry. I think they make it safe. There's a lot of I've seen at least the designs they have. It's protecting the car. I don't know if there's been a hydrogen car explosion yet. Maybe there's not enough cars. That's
Yeah.
possible.
Toyota's
But
got I feel like Toyota's got some. Don't they have some?
they have
Wait,
a few.
is Nikola
The
trying to do?
Mirage. The
Are they
Mirage
trying
or
to do
something.
EVs or hydrogen cars?
They're
Nikola?
trying to do both.
Both, yeah. Like the
Okay.
trucks are both, right? The trucks are hybrids, and
both,
then they have
yeah.
some BEV. The Badger that was supposed to come out was supposed to be.
Oh no,
fully
no,
electric.
that's long gone. That's already been. That's long gone. But I'm
Someone's
saying,
in jail.
I'm saying the problem with
Hydrogen
them
doesn't-
is
yeah.
how do you
Go ahead.
get hydrogen? How do you scale that as being a tiny company? I think that's their issue. If they just went straight for EVs, they could have just done better. You know.
Yeah, and hydrogen works better in terms of efficiency, as far as I know. According to a lot of stuff that they're saying, it works better in trucks than personal cars. So in terms of trucking, it could work, but I just don't see it considering all the investments that's happening in regular EV batteries. And like the cost is going down, the weight of EV batteries is going down, the energy density is going up.
It's going up.
So like all the economics don't make sense for hydrogen at all, because hydrogen is just electricity. Look, at this point, EVs are the future. All right, electric vehicles are the future. Now we can debate about how that electricity is going to be generated to kingdom come, but even that, the price of solar and wind is starting to come. Well, not so much wind, but solar is coming down
No,
significantly.
wind too. Wind
yeah.
too is coming down.
Wind too.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what's funny is Toyota. Just to bring up Toyota for a second, why are they still going into hydrogen? They still won't change. The CEO just left. The new CEO just talked about hydrogen. I'm like, what's wrong with these people?
It's probably their
Like, I don't
investment.
understand.
They're already invested in the technology. They probably don't want to make a pivot.
I think
That would
less
look bad in the
companies.
markets, right?
I
That
wanna
would that would be bad for them short term in the markets if they were like, oh yeah, we made a big, huge mistake to do this hydrogen thing. We're going to get on board. Then people will just feel like they're super late to the game.
Yeah, but they are late to the game, and it isn't 5 years from now even worse than just admitting it and moving forward.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people think that Toyota is going to be one of the first to go bankrupt, or at least have to consolidate.
They have
Toyota going bankrupt.
Yeah, for a lot of
Toyota,
people,
yeah.
If you
And
look
Honda,
at
these car
Toyota,
companies are screwed.
We're
I have a
approaching
Honda. They
in
can't
the
go bankrupt. I
adaptation
need them.
in the adaptation curve. We're approaching that valley of death where like the overall market shrinks.
Yeah, but guys,
in the-
Honda and Toyota going bankrupt.
yeah.
well, first of all,
Uh-huh.
if you look, Amit, Toyota has a lot of debt. Like you're talking about,
I know. I think it's like 200
lot of
billion,
debt.
something like that.
Yeah,
Not-
so that's
not
the other
200
thing.
billion,
So
20 billion, something like
if
that.
you're talking about transitioning away from your core product, that's your basic moneymaker right now, and switching, the switching costs are not economical for a lot of these companies. Like look at Ford right now. Ford, from what I can tell, they're losing money even after raising prices because they don't have the economies of scale to match the Teslas yet. And I don't think that they have the technology to make up for the gap. So Ford is another candidate that could go bankrupt on the American side because the retooling that's going to be required in order to get EVs to be a more to be more economical sense for a lot of these companies, that means that they would have to ignore every single legacy cost that they have. Remember, these companies invested in factories and manufacturing plants for the last 15, 20, 30 years. And now they're sitting on all this property that's technically useless because now if you want to build an EV, you got to build it from the ground up, like Elon did with the Numi factory in California, right? And then on top of it, you've got Big Daddy Tesla pretty much buying up all sorts of lithium and everything else. So it's a very difficult business proposition for ICE companies to switch to EVs. I think Rivian has a better shot. Believe it or not, they don't have the legacy costs. They don't have the union contracts that they signed 20 years ago when it was more profitable. So I think if there is a clear winner that could come out that could actually challenge Tesla, the only one that I'm seeing right now that makes any economic sense is Rivian. That's the only one.
What about this comment?
It's
And
already
not the
happened.
Ford, but other
Yeah.
companies spinning out EVs as a separate IPO.
It's already happened from what I understand, and that's the idea. Let the legacy business die, and keep the numbers from the EV business separate. But people are finding out now they're losing like what is it, $8,000 to $30,000 on each one of these Mach-E's. I mean, it's not sustainable because the legacy ICE business is what supported them, and every time they sell an EV, they not only lose money on that, but that's an ICE vehicle that they didn't sell. That's money that was supposed to come in and fund it. So they're in this really weird spot. They're in like a death spiral now.
Yeah.
They're going to have to consolidate companies that you're going to, and some of them will just have to go bankrupt. There's just no way.
Yeah.
Okay,
transition.
I would say
Yeah.
Ford is one of the ones who might actually survive because they're
They'll
doing
survive.
something. They're actually trying to change. So I think you're right that who's the CEO? What's his name again? Of Ford?
Jim
Jim
Farley.
Farley?
It's
Jim Farley.
Harrison Ford.
Jim Farley is willing, I think, to sacrifice the ICE business
Air
because he
Force
knows what's
One.
happened. And he's talked about Elon being, doing the right thing and the way we have to lower costs. So he's actually saying everything Elon is saying now.
But
GM
you
is
think
not.
you think he could go the way of Herbert Diess though? You think that they might out him?
That
At
I mean,
both,
that's
like, the Tesla?
possible. Well, that's possible, but I think he's doing actually an excellent job because the cars they're making are great. Like F-150 is something I would consider buying. A Mach-E is something I would consider buying. If they, the thing that stops me at least is that they don't have the charging network, so that's important for me. But I see
now you can
Mach-E's driving
charge-
around.
Yeah, but now you could charge a Mach-E on a Tesla.
Well, as soon as that happens, if that becomes easy, then I see Ford surviving. This is what I mean. And Ford is going to scale, but what about GM? They're not really scaling. They
Well-
sold only thousands of well, actually they sold like 80 Hummers or
Chevy,
10 Hummers or
the
something
Bolt.
like
There's
that.
But the
there's
Hummer's
one,
not even.
yeah.
doesn't-
There's
don't
one
even-
other thing though. Both of those, they have the backing of Uncle Sam right now. Uncle Sam is making it everything possible to save these companies. They're
Yeah.
making all the regulatory changes that they need. They're
Biden's
putting
going to
themselves out
Detroit.
there. Biden's right there because the union membership in both of those companies, the employment is a base. It's a political base for Biden. So even if it means the government has to sacrifice, they'll do it to save Ford and GM.
Yo, what do you guys think about Nio? What are your thoughts on Nio? I've never heard you guys speak on it. Do you think they're a threat at all to Tesla?
Vitaly and I've gone back and forth about Nio.
I still like Nio and I love their cars. Like
The
Why don't you
cars
have the
are
stock?
really nice.
Why don't you have the stock?
I did have the stock. I made some money. I sold too late. I sold in the 30s. I should have sold in the 60s.
Yeah.
But I mean everything went down. But I did sell in the 30s. I did make some money from $10 to $30. So that worked out a bit, but I'm still looking to buy back into Nio. I just don't trust the Chinese right now because they're killing their tech company. So I don't know what they're going to do with Nio. I actually like what they're doing. I like the battery swapping technology. Maybe it doesn't make sense in the United States. That's fine. But there's a whole world out there where it
Wait,
might
why
make
doesn't it make
sense.
sense in the United States?
I think Americans want to own their vehicles and want to own their batteries. So I think that's something I want to own my battery here in the United States. But
I was watching a video yesterday about the percentage of batteries that get swapped. We can actually bring it up. It's a chart. Like the top two performers of the Model Y, Model 3, less than 5%, like 2% of the batteries need to get swapped over the lifetime of the vehicle. And the most of the Chevys, the Chevy Bolts and the Volts, they're like 30% of them need a battery swap at some point. But that's to combat like range anxiety, right? To combat loss of range. These vehicles now with the technology, they don't suffer from that as much. It's mostly about these people trying to get reduce the charging times, right?
Yeah.
That's
so
what it is.
I think one of the things that we need to really be cognizant of and be careful with is a lot of these Chinese EV manufacturers, they're starting to dominate market share outside of the United States. So if they somehow get their foothold everywhere else, because even if they're cheaper carbon copies that are like not as good as a Tesla, but they match a price point that works, they're going to sell. And once they get market share, it's going to be hard to take them out of that. So I think Sandy Monroe actually brought it up. It's like, look, Chinese EVs are coming. You know, whether want to, whether we would like that to happen or not, they're coming. We just don't know when they're going to be a more majority part of the market share. But I think they've already started selling in Europe, and I know they've been getting a really good reception in Europe. So, you know, and I know that sometimes it's like we look at China and we think of them as, oh, you know, they just make cheap, crappy cars, but you know, their levels of improvement in terms of technology is starting to climb rapidly.
No,
you know,
I would say it's better than
yeah.
Besides Tesla, the Chinese manufacturers, Li Auto and
Yeah.
Nio, make better cars already. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. If they were here in America, I would buy a Nio. Like, no joke. It's just
the X-Pangs are actually really good too.
the X-Pangs are nice too.
Really look nice.
But
really
I'm saying
nice
the people who are going to die, it's not the Chinese car. It's the Toyota, it's the Nissans, it's the Honda. They're out. The Japanese, for some reason, don't want to accept new technology. I don't know why, which is weird. They're out. Chinese is going to be in, and then Americans better fight real hard because China is going to win. Yeah.
But
No,
Sandy Monroe even said part of the reason why the Japanese won the small cars because the American companies gave it up. They just basically relinquished that market. So that could happen again, where it becomes a battle between Tesla's $25,000 vehicle and then all of the smaller ones, and then they're going to try to compete on like the SUVs.
I would say thank God there's at least Tesla as an option for Americans, because I mean otherwise the Americans, if we lose out on transport for the next 20, 30 years to the Chinese and maybe even the Indians, because the Indians been starting to really develop their EVs too.
The Indians are not going to make a good EV, Chris.
They make good rickshaws.
What, Tata Motors?
Yeah, Tata Motors ain't making shit, bro.
Y'all see, here's the thing.
Y'all what Indian car company are
Finish
you?
that
Just listen,
sentence.
just listen. One of the
Tata Motors. What a good name. I want to buy a Tata.
one of the things that we as Americans we should never do is underestimate the underdog. And I think like that's the exact same thing that happened in the 1970s, where the American car companies like, oh, these Japanese shit boxes, no one was going to buy them, and then they have gained a ton of market share. It's the same thing in India. Like India, believe it or not, has a large presence all around the world. We just don't see it. Like in Africa, one of the most popular like what is that thing called, motorcycle brands sells in Africa, right? Same thing with South America.
A real competitive EV could come to America from India. You think they could?
No, that's not going to happen.
Jaguar is owned by India. Tata Motors owns Jaguar. See, a lot of people don't realize that you don't
drive the Jaguar.
Who, yeah, well, what 1980s person are you following that drives a Jaguar?
Actually, I know people that buy that have Jaguars. They have the Jaguar SUVs.
Yeah, and
they're nice. They're nice.
Tata's not, and by the way, Tata's not just like cars. They actually are a consulting firm. They have a lot of different arms in it. They're a conglomerate.
You have to admit the name is stupid.
The name is stupid.
Bro,
hold on.
The name is
no, it's the name of the person who found it. Like Ratan Tata. Like this guy literally. Huh? No, he's not going to change his last name, man.
Bro, I went to India in 2019. Yeah. There was Tata tea, Tata oil, Tata toilet paper. I was like, what is this Tata?
They are very well capitalized outside.
By the way, shout out to 300 people who are here for the first time. We cost 300.
Yeah. If someone gives $2.20 Canadian, is that correct?
Yeah.
You gotta mention them. Man.
Oh, I gotta get
Collision Man says choose one to invest: EV makers or charging station. I've actually been thinking about this since he posted.
Yeah.
Charging stations are commodity businesses. EV makers all the way. Tesla.
But charging stations benefit from all EV adoption.
No,
and by the way, Palantir invested in a charging station called DCFC.
Oh, then forget about the charging stations that go into EVs.
The charging stations, besides Tesla, who uses it as a loss leader and to secure their network, that's a way to get to zero real fast, because I think energy is going towards zero. So as they all compete for free electricity with their solar, the solar and their batteries that they're going to set up in the next decade, the prices are going to go down, 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 down. So I don't see charging networks being great. But Tesla with their charging network and their moat, that's different.
Chris, would you do EV maker or charging station? Then we'll move on. Or Tata.
I would probably
Tata.
end up doing
He's going Tata.
EV makers only because the margins
it's a value
make a lot
play,
more
dude.
sense.
It's a value play.
No, EV manufacturing for sure, because it's going to scale a lot faster than the charging stations. The charging stations are going to require a lot of upfront capital. And also there's a lot of competitors out there. Once the consolidation happens and we see like maybe 4 or 5 big players are the only ones left in the market, then they can start charging rates that make more economical sense. Right now, they're all like competing against each other. So it's like the race to the bottom in terms of cost. So right now,
why do you think the charging stations require so much upfront capital?
Because I mean, think about it. You're paying $1 million for property, equipment, construction, right? And the ROI and the payment time to get that money back is going to be exceptionally long, right? Because think about how much margin you can eke out of a charging station. Unless you have like convenience stores and all this other extra stuff that are layered on top of it, in terms of just raw margin, you're not going to get there. You don't have enough scale right now to charge an exorbitant amount of money on top of the natural electricity prices that you're going to get at home. Like even like right now with you guys, right? How much of your charging is actually done outside of the home right now?
Very little.
Mine. I mean, I can look at my app. I've been taking some long trips recently, so it's been a little bit more, but it's very little. Maybe.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So even right now, there's not enough EVs in the market to make that big of a difference in terms of their margins. I mean, once we get to a point where EVs are everywhere, then the margin makes sense to do charging stations. The other thing is there isn't a regulatory framework around to support the charging stations themselves. So right now you can have a charging station, and then you can have another one that's built right next to it, and then there's another one that can be built like a mile down the road. So gas stations right now are heavily regulated, where you have to have certain permits and all this other stuff. So there's huge upfront capital.
I think that has to do though with
yeah.
the holding the raw fossil fuels, like having all those
Yeah.
fossil. You can't have
Right,
those.
right,
too
right.
close
But
together
it
in the
limits.
neighborhood.
Yeah, but that's the point, that it limits the amount of competition. Whereas EV charging, dude, hotels can put EV charging right next to their
But they do
their
have
thing.
to. They do have to connect to the grid of the municipality they're in, which that has to be
Right.
regulated as well, right?
Yeah, but that's not
Yeah.
nearly as that's not nearly that bad. Literally right now you can put a charging station in a Wawa, you can put a charging station at 7-Eleven, you could put it in a Walmart, you could put it in. So I think a dedicated charging station is going to have to compete against everybody. Like right now as you drive like let's say I-16. I was driving I-16. There was charging stations everywhere that were fully dedicated towards nothing but charging. But then you had all these other tertiary charging points that you could have gone to. Plus, now you're going to be competing against home charging as well, right? So
Okay,
it makes
so
more
hold on.
sense.
I have a question,
yeah.
Chris. When you were driving on I-16, did you
Yeah.
see those? This is for Vitaly and Carlos as well, because you guys have Teslas. Is Tesla going to make money off the charging station, or are they going to make money off the land that sells the coffee at the charging station? How is it going to work? Because gas stations don't make money; they make money off the coffee.
Yeah, I mean, but Tesla right now, and that's why that was actually my point about charging station. Gas stations are put where it's convenient to get off the highway, refuel, and get back on the highway. But charging stations need to be where it's convenient to spend 30, 40 minutes, right? So they can be anywhere, and the footprint of them is really small, and they're usually like you can build them in. You can put them in any mall or restaurant parking lot, and you could
But
just.
does Tesla make money off supercharging at all? Do they make money?
They make money
off the actual you pay them basically.
Yes, because like I can see in the app that I'm paying more per kilowatt hour to Tesla than I am when I'm charging at home, whether it's peak or off peak.
It's like 3 times more expensive, approximately. But yeah, when I was on the road trip I took, you don't stop at a charging station like you did at like right on the highway. There's like a Wawa, like I think there was a comment. It's not like that. You actually get off the highway currently, and there's that's not necessarily true. I did stop on the highway in a couple places, but most of them were like by Walmarts or by Myers, where like you would go spend, like Carlos is saying, 30 minutes shopping for something else. Like I need to go do something anyway. I need to go eat. I need to go do this. You stop, you stay there for 30 minutes.
That's not where gas stations are. They're not near
Wawas are no good for this because no one wants to sit at a Wawa for 30 minutes. That's not going to work. You need to have a destination where people can actually have a good meal, buy their groceries, whatever, buy some clothes.
The Wawa hot dogs aren't that bad, though, by the way.
Say that again?
The Wawa hot dogs aren't that bad.
No, but I'm saying like I stopped at Wawa when I had a gas car. It's like I grab a cup of coffee, I grab a donut, and I leave. That's it. It's not like a sitting place. So those places are going to have a very hard time in the next decade if they don't update to like restaurants and buying clothes. Honestly, I went shopping at like a Walmart because I had 30 minutes to kill and bought some t-shirts. So it's different.
I'm sending you a link in the private chat. This was a still from Tesla Investor Day when they're in the supercharging presentation.
So the way that I would probably make money on supercharging, in my opinion, would be to create destinations where people want. Yeah, exactly, just like that.
Have Tesla drive-in movie, diner, 1950s roller skate.
Have you ever gone to Buc-ee's? Do you know what Buc-ee's is?
I've never been there, but we heard of them. Yeah.
Okay, Buc-ee's is like this
branded, like it's a strip club.
No, it's like this branded gas station chain all over the southeast. Their concept is amazing, and like if you ever gone to a Buc-ee's, like it's an experience. They have sometimes around 200 to 300 gas pumps. Okay, they have trucking like dedicated on the other side, and then when you go inside, it's like packed of like different types of foods that you can get, different types of branded things. I'm not talking about like your little gas. This is like the Walmart of gas stations. Like you guys, it's an experience. I love Buc-ee's. You gotta, if anyone's down here, like down in Texas, Florida, they're growing like crazy. And it's believe it or not, they actually partnered with Tesla and they're actually putting superchargers, Tesla superchargers in Buc-ee's.
So yeah, I think Matt Money said charging would always be 30 minutes. I agree with you, but we still have to wait the 5 to 10 years before they figure all this out. So in the next 5 years, you're going to be going to Walmart while you're parking your Tesla. You're not going to be sitting at a Buc-ee's.
Okay, so we have about We have about 20 minutes left, so you guys can start leaving your questions in the chat. If you just put question, and then the question, and we're going to try to get through all of them. Before we get to your questions, I tell you what we're going to say.
I was going to say hit like and subscribe right now. Everybody,
Yes,
please hit the like button.
And thank you, 315 people. This is crazy. We had like 250, then 260, then 280. I think it peaked yesterday. Now it's 315. It means
just real quick in the chat. Where's everybody watching this right now? Like that one video that the guy posted, he was at the airport. That was awesome to see.
Oh,
like
Nate. Shout out to Nate.
Where
Nate
is everybody right now? Because obviously we're home.
So two things. Put where you're watching this from right now. Are you on the toilet? Are you in an airport? Just that would be really cool to see. And then post your question. And then before we get to the questions, I'm going to do 5 minutes on this. Chris, can you educate us about this headline? Brazil and China have striked a trade deal agreement to ditch the US dollar. China is now Brazil's top trading partner since 2009. And this means if America sanctions any of these two countries, it doesn't fucking matter because they're not trading within the US dollar. So those denominations don't affect them. Any thoughts on this?
So this is really bad for the U.S. Basically, what it is the U.S. controls the transfer system called SWIFT, the banking system, where basically a lot of the transactions that are done between countries, and not just countries, but people within those countries, like export, import, everything typically happens with the US dollar. So Brazil would convert their currency to US dollars, and then China would, convert again from US dollars to yuan, and then the trade was made. So everything was settled via dollars. These guys are saying, hey, listen, we want to cut out the middleman, which is the US, and we want to just directly transact with each other because we're the largest trading partners with each other. And this is not, Brazil's not the only one doing this. I think the Saudis are accepting yuan as a form of currency now for their oil purchases. The reason why the US provided usually being the middleman of it is because the safety and security of the US dollar. People didn't think that it was going to get inflated. There's going to be value there. It's not a banana republic, or at least it wasn't a banana republic in the past, but slowly we're descending into that. The problem that we're also having now is that we've gone a little too heavy-handed with sanctioning countries. So anytime a country doesn't like what we like, what we like, or goes against our policy, it's like, so let's sanction them, and that works to an extent. But if you try to just keep sanctioning everybody, it ends up backfiring on you. So like right now, we put sanctions on Iran, we put sanctions on Venezuela, and then in 1997, when India did like their nuclear experiments, we put sanctions on India. Then now it's like we're putting sanctions on China because of their trade stuff. So it's like, bro, how many people are you going to sanction? And then people are just going to say, you know what, US, you can keep the US dollar. We'll just trade with each other. Let's put sanctions on Russia.
I see that. And I don't actually have to read that article, but the problem is that everybody's in debt with US dollars.
So why? But
did you hear what I said, Chris?
Good.
He's saying you have to pay it off.
I'm saying you have to pay US dollars.
You got to pay it back.
The US debt.
So yes, there are a lot of people that own foreign currency, like reserves in US dollars, but you're talking about dollar denominated debt, and a lot of people are decoupling that. That's the other thing. I will say that this is a blip, but if the US does not take this seriously, it could negatively impact us going into the future. The US really needs to be a lot better when it comes to managing its finances, and at the same time, managing its foreign policy, that we're not heavy-handed with everyone, and we're not using sanctions just because we don't like what's happening, every single time. By the way,
Brazil external debt reached $575 billion December 22.
Almost as much as Ford.
Compared with $568 billion the previous quarter. So the debt is going up. Seems like they're using US dollars.
It's not nearly enough the size of the when you put into perspective with the size of their economy, and they're a growing economy too. Like if you look at the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, they're creating a block of economic interest that literally is a really bad shift for the US.
Okay, Chris, gun to your head. Does this actually really matter, or does it really not? Is it a headline?
It's an early indicator for where the US is headed if we do not get our shit together. That's the problem.
So how would we stop something like Brazil and China trading within yen versus dollars? Like we can't interfere, right?
Well, we can't stop it right now, but what we can do is bring value back to the US dollar by being a lot better with our fiscal sanity, and stop fighting each other over transgender swimmers and shit like that. Like right now, our country is so divided when it comes to so many geopolitical aspects. They just indicted Trump Right now, we could have another January
true.
6th happen.
What's
right
a transgender swimmer?
Huh? No, the whole thing with Leah Thomas, like literally we're fighting each other over everything that's so stupid, and the rest of the world is sitting there laughing at us. Like seriously, that's your biggest concern right now. You guys are trying to figure out
that woke thing is actually being exported, and a lot of those countries hate us for it now.
That's
What's
that's
happening
another
in
thing.
France,
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Well,
Yeah.
the reason they hate us for
hating
that is because the United States was never supposed to be based around group identity. It's all individualism, freedoms, all this stuff. So when group identity started being sort of the forefront of the mainstream discussion around culture, and that gets exported, you know, you have some ramifications because then you're not the individualist, freedom-oriented country. It's a nuanced discussion,
totally
obviously.
tribal. It's totally tribal now.
It's tribalism, right? Right.
I wonder what the people in the comments think about that.
All right, well, let's get to some questions in the comments. And again, you can leave your
Let me
questions.
give a solution. What happens? Everything turns around as soon as the Fed decreases the rates and everybody's back on the money printing machine and we all want cheap money. Brazil is back in the game, baby. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, if they announce they either not raising anymore or they start lowering rates,
Yeah, everyone's back in.
it's so easy.
So we're back in, right?
Okay, so
Go
questions
local,
again.
go.
We want to take about 30, 40 seconds each on them. Nothing too crazy. You don't want to trigger you guys on this one. But Italian Carlos, if Alex Karp wasn't the CEO of Palantir, how would you feel about Palantir as an investment at that point?
It would make a big deal. You know, like I said, if TJ Rogers, let's say TJ Rogers from Enovix, from Enphase, he took over the company, that would be like a serious like bull flag for me. Like maybe I should now pay attention a lot. But Alex Karp is, like I keep saying, he's not a good business leader. And that's important to invest with good leaders that you believe in, that I personally believe in. And I just don't believe in him. That's it. It's nothing more than that. But TJ Rogers, I believe.
All right. Question. Would you guys take 1.5 million worth of options of Tesla at a 230 strike price, 10-year expiration, or $500,000 of Tesla stock? What would you do?
1.5 million.
I have 10-year expiry. Yeah, I would take that. The 1.5 million.
Yeah.
10-year
as long as I can get a loan against it, sure. I can get a loan against some of that for sure.
I don't think you can get a loan against that, right? Options, you can't get a loan against options.
I'm saying.
It's for Vitaly. What camera do you shoot on?
I have an A7 III right here. I'm a cinematographer, so I have a lot of cameras, but this is an A7 III with a 35 mil lens.
Okay.
A Sigma 35 mil lens.
All right. Chris, let's have you start on this one. What is your process of valuation? Do you have certain metrics that you look at every time? So maybe like top 3 things you look at in a company. We answered this before, but we could do it again.
I tend to look at the first thing I'll do is go to their last 10K and look at their balance sheet and see what they are doing in terms of cash burn. If they're a company that is burning cash and the cash burn is growing and it's not going down, and at the same time their balance sheet isn't healthy, I know that one of 2 things is going to happen. Either they're going to have to look for new capital and they're going to have to dilute existing shareholders, or they're going to have to get more debt and put themselves in the rabbit hole of issues. So I think the cash flow is like the first thing I look at. So if the company is not generating free cash flow, I ask why. Are they investing too much? Are they investing a lot of that free cash flow into growth initiatives? Are they buying back debt? So that's like the first thing. So look at their balance sheet, look at all of that. And then next I try to look into some of their IP. If they have something unique about them that gives them a unique moat, that's another big factor to look into. And last but not least, where the general trend for the entire sector is headed. So if they're in a sector that's growing together, maybe they're not the monopoly in that sector, but the entire sector is moving in a certain direction, then that's another area that I would invest in. So like let's take a step back and do like in terms of EVs. So the first thing you would do is you look at all the EV companies. So you would look at, okay, which ones are generating cash flow and which ones are burning cash flow. So if I'm looking at the one that's burning cash flow, I'm definitely going to be more interested in the one that's generating cash flow. Tesla is generating cash flow. That's the one I'd want to look into.
I don't like this new Chris who's a Tesla bull. It just doesn't sit right with me.
No, I'm giving you as an example.
Because like 3 weeks ago, I hate Tesla. Now he's a Tesla
I never
bull.
said I hated Tesla. I said I hated the valuation. I hated the valuation.
He didn't believe in the
You didn't believe in the story. I don't know. You're too bullish now. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But did you back then, did you think that EVs were not the future, that people would still be driving gas?
So 2 months ago, what changed? 2 months, man.
No, it wasn't 2
Elon
months ago.
followed him on Twitter. That's what changed.
No, it was a long time ago. No,
Dude, it was 2 months ago.
I got played in. No. It was longer than that. I got played into the whole concept of, okay, the competitors are going to be able to rapidly scale up and catch up to Tesla, and the valuation will eventually collapse on itself. And I looked at them purely from the economics of a automaker. And then when I started to do more research about them and looked at some of their other business segments, they're profitable, but at the same time, they're expanding out into other profit centers. So I don't think of Tesla anymore as a EV manufacturer. I think of them as a conglomerate. And I've said that, I think the last time when we said it, they are a conglomerate that's developing where there's going to be disrupting utilities. They're going to be disrupting transportation. They're going to be disrupting a lot of other things, even robotics and AI, even though right now Musk is anti-AI. But when it comes to self-driving, you're going to need AI, right? So the manufacturing of chips, I think there is a lot of talent in the Tesla pool to not only grow their auto business, but then to also grow in other verticals. That's why I'm bullish on Tesla a lot more these days than I was in the past.
All right, next question. Birds fly south for the winter. Do you do anything like that?
Selling may go away.
Well, you're on the West Coast, so you're fine, right, Carlo?
It's a real thing, but it's a real... No. I mean, if you're talking about like... Personally, like if I do that for comfort or just like investing,
like when
like a dark period.
Oh, I interpret it as when it gets cold, do you leave where you live? That's all.
When it gets too cold in California, do you go to
when it gets too cold in California, there's nowhere to go. People come here. No, I don't do that. I work. That's what I do. I'm still an unbelievable grinder. Right.
I'm looking forward to flying south in a couple of years. Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, when me and Vitaly fly south, we're not coming back.
We're not coming back.
And again, guys, we got to do 30 seconds on these so we can get all three of you. When do you think FSD will get to the point of mass adoption, if ever?
I think Tesla does their first paid FSD ride in 2024.
Okay, 2024. Vitaly?
Vitaly thinks 2029, third 2030.
Well, I think FSD for real, meaning in multiple states, being used widely, yes, 2030 or so. But I think first test, if you're talking about 2025.
Like first paid ride with a couple of the, a couple Model 3s. Like I think that around the time that they actually get that $25,000 vehicle out, it's right there. It's ready to go. Okay. Did they say when that would go into production? 2025? Did they say that?
2024 is too soon,
every single year.
No, I'm saying for the cheaper vehicle.
Did they say that? I mean, he said 2025, but I mean, the Cybertruck's still not out.
Yeah, 2024 is very optimistic of you. It's past 2025 for sure. If there's actually money involved, as opposed to just tests.
Well, no, I don't think with the new vehicle. I'm saying with the existing fleet. I think at a certain point, like next year, they.
You mean no people in it? You're saying no people in it?
Yeah, I think they'll start doing.
I don't think that's happening until 2030. To be honest, I don't think.
You really think 5 more years are going to go by and we're still going to?
Do you know how? Do you know how hard it is for a car to drive itself?
Yes.
In every situation.
Yeah.
Like that's not a joke. Did you see Farzad's
No, you're right. You're actually right. It is very hard.
I got up to 10 minutes of Farzad's video. It was going fine, and then he had to get the wheel because it like stopped when he was making a Texas U-turn or whatever it is in Texas. Like
K-turn.
The Now You Know guys had a video too. They have full self-driving in their car. They almost got T-boned. So luckily he took over.
Yeah, bro. I think it's a while. Chris, when do you think FSD happens?
It's going to be a while. It's a lot more dealing with regulatory changes than with actual technology itself. Like regulators have to catch up, which the government being what it is, it takes a while. So safety is definitely going to be proven eventually, but they're
already allowing pilot programs in places like San Francisco, and it'd be really easy. It'd be really easy. Like Tesla recently announced they're trying to expand the boring tunnels in Vegas, trying to make it a bigger loop. So my guess is that's where it's going to be first. It's going to be a pilot program somewhere in Vegas where it's like from the airport to the hotels and just like a closed route. So it's not going to be. You won't be able to go outside of that. And I think that's the place where they'll get people comfortable or they'll offer it as like a service for some of their clients, right? They can offer it as a service.
I'm surprised
it'll be at first.
I'm surprised that they don't let more rural pilots happen because I think the need for transportation, believe it or not, disruption is in the rural side more than the city side. Because the city side, you have all sorts of transportation happening where you can take the bus, train, whatever. So there's a lot more accessibility. Whereas in the rural side, if you don't own a car, you can't get anywhere, right? So the demand for something like autonomous EV taxis and autonomous driving would actually be like, hey, listen, I'll give you an example. Like my mother, she's in Savannah, Georgia, on like the suburbs. It'd be really nice. She drives right now, but it'd be nice that if a car could just be summoned, pick her up, take her to Kroger, Walmart, whatever, and then bring her home. You know what I mean? So when it comes to it, I think the rural side would make more sense in terms of in terms of like autonomous.
Would you trust
taxis
that car,
rather than
Chris,
city.
to pick up your
That's
mom?
what I think. That's a bigger safety concern. I would not want to be out in the middle of some rural back.
I would
cars
rather
without
hire a
driver.
driver than trust a car. To pick up
For
my mom.
now, I think that's the
Yeah.
case. But I think eventually it may be different. Like even when it came to like drivers, there was a big industry push when Uber first came out. A lot of people were like, wait, you're going to get in some random person's car that's, that's their personal car, they're unlicensed, all this other stuff. And eventually everyone became really comfortable with it. I saw the video with GM Cruise in San Francisco, and they said that the cars were actually felt safer than human drivers, so
Yeah.
you never know.
Okay. Quick thoughts on ARC-G. This is the genomics fund of Kathy Woods. Do you think it outperforms over the next 5 years the S&P 500? Thoughts?
I don't know about 5 years, but I think with 10 years, yes.
Mhm.
Because that's something like that just takes a long time to develop. And I think she's right, but we just don't know when that's going to pop. And I would give it a decade.
Do you think the Nvidia chip ban to China would affect Nio stock, or Nio doesn't need these chips for their cars?
The Nvidia chip into China.
Yeah, there was this bill that was passed.
There was an AI sort of chip, but I think they're working around it. They're actually working around this, and Nvidia's shipping something. So I'm not sure exactly what they're shipping, but they're working around this already.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Chris, go ahead. You have anything?
Now with Nvidia chips and the cars, the what Vitaly said is absolutely correct. They have a version specifically built for the China market where they can't repurpose it for something that's going to be used in a military way. So basically, it's a way around it. So basically, a lot of the key strengths that like an AI chip would have are still there, that let you do raw computational power, but you can't just use it in any sort of system. That it's actually purpose built for a very limited function. So I think Nvidia is playing it smart because they don't want to close out the entire China market. That's a big significant market. The other thing is I think there is some issues with reverse engineering also, where you can't reverse engineer some of the technology. That's the other problem with the Chinese, is that over time they're really good at copying. But if they can reverse engineer a lot of the products that we sell, they could end up becoming future competitors too, right? So that's the other concern as well.
There'll always be a generation behind, no?
Yeah.
No, I mean, this is bad. This is not having free trade across everywhere is what leads to war. So I think this is bad for all parties, that China will work its way around. They have smart people there. And everyone who says they're knocking off shit anymore, they're not. Their cars are amazing. Their technology is great. I order parts even for film stuff. All our phones are made there. All our cameras are made there. So like, I order so much stuff from China that I'm actually like all the time surprised how good the quality is now. It's no longer the China of like 10 years ago. So all this is nonsense. We should let them have the chips. They should be allowed. We should be allowed to export, obviously, but they should have a deal made, because if they can't have Google and Facebook, then you can't have the chips. If you can have Google and Facebook, you get the chips. It should be something like that, right?
Well, I think the US, we've been very lax with IP theft and some of the other things too. So yeah, they're able to. The biggest problem with China in terms of development has always been around their inability to innovate. When you live in a society where everything is rigid, that has to be done a certain way, innovation doesn't happen naturally. And it usually is the US that does the innovation, the technology, the research and development, and then it's copied by the Chinese, and then they do it and they resell it around the world. Unless China can get an innovative edge, they will always be in our shadows. And the problem is their own government is their problem. Like,
yes.
Look at Alibaba, look at all these other things. If they let Alibaba run wild, dude, Alibaba could have come and taken over half of Asia, which they were doing, by the way. But now
Alibaba could have been $1 trillion company one day. Just like Amazon.
But now the Chinese are like, the government's like, oh, you got too much power. We're going to crack you down, make you split up. So now they literally kick themselves in the knees. And I don't know. It's the Chinese government is getting in their own way, even with their stupid one-child policy, which is going to demographically destroy them in the next 10, 15, 20 years.
I think they got rid of that.
No, they changed. No. But the problem is the change in the future means nothing if you have a demographic problem that you created 20 years ago, which is going to affect you now. Changing it now, it's almost like making a bad decision and saying, oh man, I shouldn't have made that bad decision. Okay, but you still got to live with the consequences, right? So that's what's happening.
It's the Fed saying there's no inflation for a year, while inflation is
exactly.
All right,
Exactly.
here's the last stock question. We have 7 minutes left. 11:15 is a hard stop, and that so this is the last stock question. After this, if you guys want to ask any like fun questions, interpret that however you may. You can put that in the chat. Meta is releasing an option to opt out of personal ads in Europe. This was big news today. The privacy push by Europe regulators will only get worse. They have Metas in the crosshairs. Do you think Meta will allow people to subscribe to use Facebook and opt out of personalized ads in Europe? Or do you think the ads business just starts to suck in Europe because of European regulators? What do you think happens here?
The ads start to suck, but they're still going to see ads. That's how they make their money.
It's not good for business, though, if the ads suck, right?
Well, I mean, they're going to be worse, but honestly, Facebook has so much information. How do they stop personalized ads? Oh, I don't even understand. You don't look at all the data you have on somebody?
No, literally, European regulators are like, you can't collect these certain things, and it's.
I think Facebook AI has Facebook AI has a way to get around a lot of that stuff where even if the personal data, like Amit Kukreja, who likes the color brown, they don't have that information based on your search. Based on
thanks a lot.
Yeah, based on search history and some of the other ways that they can figure out stuff. It's almost like filling in the blanks. That's the thing that AI can do really well, and I think Meta is going to be able to do that, where they end up filling in the blanks.
As soon as Apple messed with the Meta money train, that they put all their resources to figure that out. It's like they can randomize the data. They don't need to know you specifically, but they get an idea of where your phone is. Kind of what they can still get the data.
Dude, I get ads. Like crazy ads. Like I would just think I'm almost thinking of it. Like, and then
it's literally Brazers.com. Bang.
Yeah, it's mostly it's the same.
Brazzers. That's another word. We got to make a list of things that he pronounces wrong. It's Brazers.
Oh my god, the chat's gonna flame
you. You must be masturbating to the wrong sites.
Okay, what do you guys do for fun outside of investing?
No. Hold on. This Facebook thing. If Facebook is getting hammered, what's happening to the little guys? Once I go to the little guys.
But who's the little guys?
Whoever's doing advertising, whoever's trying to do a startup.
Snapchat.
But who?
These
company.
No, Carlos. There's a lot of ad tech companies.
No, there's a lot of ad tech companies. A lot. There's hundreds of
their clients use Facebook. They have to make the tech for Facebook. Facebook controls everything.
No, but you're saying those are customers of Facebook. Like they're
no. Like a company like Taboola.
Hold on, I'll look up ad tech
technology.
Yeah, like what company's competing with Facebook for ads besides Google? It's like,
well, eventually Audia is going to have to compete, and Audia is not going to have the tracking ability to get around those things. So.
The trade,
every one of these 288 people, Amit is like spying on you.
All right, I'm doing research now, but my point is that what happens to everybody else that can't do what Facebook is doing with their AI? The point is they're creating a bigger monopoly. I keep going back to that. That's all they're doing. So Europe is making a bigger monopoly.
That's 22. They're trying to regulate them, but they're too big. So then if you try to regulate them, you screw the little guys. Like Facebook's too big. That means you got to buy Meta stock. That's it.
So here's one thing before when it comes to regulation, the big guys love regulation. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a very, very destructive secret, but it's a secret. So basically, once you get to the point where you have a good amount of market share, all your job is to preserve that market share. So what do? You end up saying, oh, please regulate us, make the regulatory burden so fucking high that our smaller competitors can never get past those regulations and get into a point where they can actually compete with us. I've dealt with that in the healthcare space when it comes to some manufacturers, where they're always pushing the regulators to like increase the level of complexity in the machines. Yep. And why? Yep. It's because they're the only ones that can make those machines that complex. That's it. So no one else can compete. So now there's a huge consolidation happening where the little guys that can't get past that regulatory hurdle end up dying. So instead of thinking of Meta hating regulators, Meta is probably pushing these fucking regulators in the background, which we don't even know. And it seems like
during
Amit, make that live.
He was begging for that.
Make this live. So, I mean, I did a cursor, like a fast search. GumGum. Well, they're an ad tech platform. We never heard of it.
Companies, though, but
look, there's a lot of people at GumGum doing something. System One.
They have 500 employees, dude. I mean, that's not a really good example. 500.
These are great examples.
No, but these are companies that will be affected by it.
System One, 500 employees, they're done for. 190 Core Digital Media, they're done for. Daily Motion, these companies are all going to go bankrupt because they can't compete.
The Trade Desk is a public company. That's a big one. Okay, we got to do a lightning round because I gotta be out in 2 minutes because I got a meeting. What do you guys do for fun, quick, outside of investing?
I mean, this is it. You're looking at
Podcasting,
it.
YouTube. We're talking about investing, so I don't know if it counts, but
Yeah, we
But
talk about investing. That's fun for us
kind of
now.
fun. We talk about I do
know,
this.
to be-
I play.
yeah.
I play that.
play drums. Okay, cool.
Play drums. I hang out with the kid. I drive my Tesla. I snowboard. Snowboard or ski, whatever. Like,
Okay, Chris.
Carlos should have a commercial.
Yeah.
do you
I
mean?
think for now, I'm more focused on this and work, and it leaves very little time for me to do anything extra. But starting this summer, I want to go more. I want to do more outdoorsy things, like go camping. I told my wife we got all the gear last year, but we didn't get a chance to go. But I think we're gonna do camping a little bit more and just do more outdoorsy things that we can, go explore. Probably travel a lot more. Things like
Okay,
that.
next question. What did you have for dinner?
I don't eat dinner anymore.
Carlos, what'd you have?
I haven't eaten dinner yet. It's only 8 o'clock
yeah,
here,
you're-
and I work in television, so you
Chris,
don't.
did you have
you not-
non-pizzas?
No, my wife actually got me a cupcake from Kroger because I hit 3,000 followers on Twitter.
Oh, you did? Oh, let's go.
Yeah.
I didn't even
Oh,
know
nice,
that.
dude.
I gotta
Yeah,
say, you
yeah.
don't
I didn't
deserve
even
that
see
woman.
got you a cupcake
I
for
probably
dinner.
don't. I probably don't. We had a
Does the
we had a
wife?
little
Does
bit
the
of a-
wife count as a hobby?
Yes, yes.
I definitely.
That's definitely a hobby. I'm about to go do one of my hobbies after
Dude,
this.
right.
Oh,
If she's
goodness.
still awake, if she's
Giving her
still
that
awake,
pimp limp.
I'll probably
Question.
I'll probably lay next to her and be like, "Hey, honey,
I
you
made
ain't
it
got
saving
work
his virginity
tomorrow."
for the right man.
This is the last question, and unfortunately, we will never know
Oh,
when this will
man,
happen.
that's
So
funny.
that's it. That's it for me. All right.
You will.
Thank
will
you,
be mad.
300 people, for being here. Again, we are sponsored by ringthecowbell.com. 25,000 a month. Got it in the bag last night for these guys because I love them. So I'll be sending them that.
Wait, is
Cash
that a
App
real
soon.
thing? Shut the hell up! Is that a real thing?
Go
Yeah,
go
ringthecowbell.com,
live right.
25,000.
Go live right now and type
Yeah.
that website. It's gonna be like
I
you're
gotta
connected.
see
I don't know
to
what's going to
Sure.
pop up if you type that website, but I know we got 25K coming in the bag. So
I
That's
thought we were
it.
Shit, man.
Wait, I thought we were sponsored by Porzo.com.
Okay.
I don't even want to know.
we
what
are
that is.
not going to be live tomorrow. We are not going to be live Saturday, but Sunday night, 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. Put it on your calendar.
Eastern
We will
time.
be back.
Behind the
9
paywall.
p.m.
Eastern time. A lot of the people here are in
Eastern time.
California.
Yes,
it's-
Eastern time, 9 p.m. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Loved it. Have a great weekend. Have a great Friday, and we'll see you on Sunday.
Later.
Bye-bye.